Welcome back. It's Recovery Sort of. I'm Jason. I'm a guy in long-term recovery.
And I'm Billy. I'm a person in long-term recovery.
And we wanted to wrap up some of our talk about freedom last week. We really enjoyed it. We got a lot of feedback about last week's episode, and I greatly appreciate it. It helped us think about it. A lot of people helped to put it in perspective of like what feels free and just the freedom of not being in the bondage of addiction, which surely, I mean, we, gave us the freedom to sit here and babble about whether we're actually free or not. Because if not, I wouldn't have had an hour and a half to dedicate to Billy. I'd have been out there using. Brittany, Julie, Jenny, Stephanie, a lot of our usuals had comments. We talked about the Matrix. We talked about Buddha. We talked all kind of different stuff. One of the more interesting things, somebody recommended a podcast, and so I listened to that, and it was the concept of we kind of take prisoners in our lives, and this keeps us from being free because we then have to be the wardens of the jail, and kind of like if you're taking care of a prisoner, it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of taxpayer money to take care of any of our prisoners in our society, and so we take on prisoners that our happiness depends on, right? If you don't live this way, I won't be happy, or if you don't do these things, I won't be loved. And so the whole podcast basically revolved around the idea that I can't be free until I give everyone around me their freedom. And I just thought that was really interesting. And it almost made me think of if all our spiritual principles work that way. Like,
you feel them more when you give them away?
Like, that's the only way to get them.
Yeah.
Like, I can only get love if I give love.
And well, in love specifically, that's what the way love was always explained to me is love isn't something you get. I mean, you can be loved, but it's not something you get to like grab and hang on to. It's something that you give to other people. That's what love. And if I say I love someone, that doesn't mean, like when I say I love my wife, that doesn't mean I love my wife because she does my laundry and cooks my food and, whatever. It's if I really love someone, it's what am I giving to that person? How am I making their life better? How am I, giving love to them, not just receiving love.
Does that work with honesty though? Like, am I only getting honesty if I give it away? Or I think it's not even so much about, I don't think any of these are what I'm getting. I think it's just, am I living it? And that's what I'm living in. Like, that's the spiritual principle. Like, it's when I give it that I'm living it. I'm not running around looking for honesty to come my way or open-mindedness to, for somebody to give me some willingness. Like, it's all about what am I doing? Am I giving this out to the world?
Yeah. Am I being an honest person in my life? Yeah. Am I giving honesty to the world? Yeah.
So I guess freedom is the same way. Maybe freedom is a spiritual principle. We just need to live it by letting everybody be free.
Yeah. And we're lucky. Sometimes it's easy to get out of perspective of like in some of these other countries, they don't have freedoms like we have here. You know what I mean? Like there are literally countries where you're not allowed to have meetings, recovery meetings, or, you're not allowed to openly be an addict, or they'll put you in camps and shit like that. So there are some levels of freedom that we get in this country that might allow us to take that a little bit for granted.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm currently struggling with not doing the smoking or vaping or anything, and it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like I'm struggling and stuck into this miserable little box because here's my problem is I want to be a non-smoker, but I want to smoke, right? That's like being a faithful husband that sleeps with other women and a guy in recovery who uses drugs. Like, they don't work together.
Right.
But that's what I want. I want the joys of what I call the joys of smoking without all the extra bullshit that comes with it.
So I want to use with no consequences.
That's exactly what
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were just, I was on vacation with my wife this last week, and we talked a lot about that. It's like, I've heard people say, I stopped using because it stopped working, and that isn't how it went for me. I loved getting high. I still love getting high. I don't do it because the consequences sucked.
Right.
My life was in shit. I couldn't be the person that I wanted to be, but the getting high part, that was great. When I was high, things were good. It was the consequences,
I'm trying to. I don't remember it really being that good at the end. There wasn't a whole lot of getting high either. It was mostly just like getting well or getting by at the end for me. So there wasn't a whole lot of like, oh man, I'm so high. I'm passed. Like I was just passed out. Honestly, when I got high, I was nodding.
And so I have a little bit of a weird story. Like my end, what I would call my end, when I got clean this time, wasn't the worst part of my life using. You know what I mean? Like what had happened for me, I had gotten really bad into heroin for 4 or 5 years. And I ended up going to jail for a year. So I got off of heroin while I was in jail. And when I got back out of jail, I said, well, I'm just not going to do heavy drugs anymore. I'm just going to drink and smoke pot. So I did that for another 3 or 4 years. And I never did heroin, coke, no heavy drugs again. But my life just stayed, fucked up in that continuous pattern of, violate probation, get a DUI, get in trouble, never having any money, but when I was using heroin on a daily basis, my life was way worse than it was, at my end when I got clean. So my decision to get clean was solely based off of the consequences of this behavior just aren't worth it anymore.
Yeah, I don't see, and that's I think the hardest part about the smoking, right? Like there's a lot of consequences from it, but they are so minimal in comparison to the life-altering consequences of drug use, right? Like there's a ton of life-altering consequences with drug use that make you say, damn, maybe I really need to get my shit together. Smoking, it's all later on.
Right. Well, I was going to say, when you say minimal, it's not minimal.
It's minimal today.
Yes, it's not noticeable today.
It's inconvenient.
But, watching, say, my mom go through what she went through at the end, she had, years of time where she was wheeling around an oxygen thing and couldn't do certain activities or was very limited in the amount of physical, stuff she could do. And they told her she would only live, I think, they gave her 2 or 3 years, and she ended up living for like almost 10 after that. But that was not a very good quality of life. Right. It wasn't the quality of life that we were used to. When she was growing up, when our kids were growing up and she was a big part of their life, I mean, her and my dad would come down to the beach with us on vacations, and we would go out for the whole day and, do stuff and go out to eat. She couldn't do any of that at the end of her life. She couldn't barely go out to a restaurant. I mean, if we went out to a restaurant, that was like a big deal. It was a production, and that was all she could do.
Right.
So, that 40 years that she smoked, I guess those consequences might have seemed pretty minimal, but that last 8 to 10 years probably felt like a pretty big consequence,
And that's where the hard part is. So I want the better ending, right? But then I got all the justifications and the rationalizations. I'm like, well, my parents and my wife's parents don't do the stuff they like. When our kids were really young, man, they'd go walk Disney with us for full days and for the whole week, and they're like, they don't want to do that shit now. They don't get off the couch. And I'm like, maybe it's just an age thing. Fuck it, I'll keep smoking, right? But I do want to be available for my grandkids. I do want to live as long as possible to, participate in life. And it's like, those are things I want. I also want to fucking smoke right now or vape or do something. It's just so dumb. And maybe it's only where I'm at right now. Maybe after, 4 or 5 days, I'll feel real happy that I quit. Right now, I don't.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just simple things that we learn in recovery about, making an inventory, a positive, negative inventory. What are the benefits of smoking? What are not the benefit? The consequences of smoking, and just even writing that down, keeping it in your pocket, or just having it in your head to pull up, like when those urges come. I mean, even with the amount of time I have clean, I still, romantically fantasize about getting high sometimes. It happens. But I and laugh about the good times for a little bit, and then remember the end times for a little bit, and it's like, I think we'll hold off for today. Like, I like my life the way it is now versus what it was then.
I did. I enjoyed the freedom of not having to vape. I think there was, and not so much a positive, negative inventory, but I've kind of nailed down the things I don't like about it as I go, because they just pile up, right? And I got this long list of like, man, I gotta rely on this thing. Man, I get more frustrated when I can't use this vape, right? When I have to like wait for a certain time to be able to use it. I get fucking annoyed with that, right? People get on my nerves more. I felt less in touch with the world. I started to feel like less in touch with the world. And who knows, maybe I was just depressed anyway. Like it might have had nothing to do with that, but I was like, damn, here I am. I got a coping mechanism. Now I don't feel as in touch with humans anymore. And it's like, I don't want that kind of shit, but fuck, I don't want to not smoke, man. It's like such a hard, I guess I don't remember the getting clean part so much. It was almost like, I'm pretty sure it was miserable. I was probably stuck in prison, honestly, so I didn't have much choice. I just knew it was going to be miserable, and there was more acceptance, right? I feel like there's a lack of acceptance that this is what I'm doing right now. I'm still like, am I really doing this? I know it's like day 3, but am I really doing it? Like, am I just fucking around with it, quitting, or am I really like, if you locked me in a cage somewhere, I'd be like, I guess I'm not fucking smoking today. Right? Let me move on and do something better with my thoughts in life, but
yeah, the basics, man. Just for today. Just for today, you made a decision. Is that the decision you made this morning? You're not going to smoke today?
I made it yesterday. But now I haven't
made that today.
Well, I left the house today. That's the scary part. I left the house, and I'm going to leave the house again. I'm going hiking later, and I'm like, if I leave the house, man, it's so easy. I might need gas. I might have to stop at the gas station. Gotta go with it, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough.
Stupid. But I've had a vape in my house the entire time, and I just like put it in a bag and put it in a drawer Thursday night. And so, I mean, I could have pulled that out at any point in time. I just haven't. I don't fucking know why. I did do that hypnotism thing. Maybe that's...
Yeah, it's weird too. I mean, my wife struggles with the smoking part, and it's been so long for me. I actually quit smoking before I got clean. So I had quit everything like 3 months before I actually got clean. I just went on this like, fuck it, I'm gonna stop everything. I'm not smoking, drinking, nothing. Just quitting everything. I'm gonna get healthy, go exercise.
Do you remember how miserable you were?
Well, no, not now. I don't. But so I did that, and then within a couple weeks, I started drinking again and getting high again. But I just didn't smoke cigarettes again.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. That whole part of my life was a blur. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I guess I have a lot of sympathy right now for anybody who's going through the early portion of quitting anything. Like, I don't remember it being this miserable. Maybe I was just super depressed and never got out of bed, and at that point in my life it didn't matter. Nobody cared. But
yeah, and I think about that a lot. I was not miserable when I first got clean. I was like, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of urges to use early on.
I don't, and that's what I
feel like I should have. Like, I feel like, I don't know that something was wrong with me, but that wasn't, like, once I said, I'm fucking done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I committed to NA, and that just is where I put all my focus and energy, and I didn't really have overwhelming desires to use.
Well, and I had a desire to be clean, right? Like, using had gotten so bad that I had a desire to stop that. And then when I found a little bit of freedom and not having to use, I got excited. I was like, oh my God, this shit's working. I'm okay, let's do this. And it felt good, right? I did not want to go back to using right then and there. I'm sure there's some times along the way where, some feelings came up. It probably sounded like a good idea. But in that beginning, I didn't. And that's honestly working against me right now, because I'm like, see, you're just going to smoke again anyway because you're not done with it. You didn't hit that bottom. So you might as well do it now.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I might use again. I don't know that I'm done with using forever.
Right.
I'm done with it today. Like today, that's not on the agenda. Yeah. I don't know about tomorrow or next year or whatever.
Can you imagine? God, that'd be awful.
Depends. I don't know. I could picture a cool scenario.
Really?
Yeah, go down to South America, out with the natives, out into the woods, and do some,
Is that using?
Ayahuasca ceremony.
Are we sure?
So I could say it's spiritual. It was a spiritual thing. That's my higher power. Said it's okay to do ayahuasca.
I had to meet my higher power in person. All right, so Kirsten's about to be on. You ready to? It was a great conversation about freedom. We definitely appreciate everybody's feedback. It was some good stuff. It helped us really entertain the idea of freedom and what it means for us, and I mean, even helping me now explore the idea of what does this freedom from smoking look like to me? Is it really worth it? Does it mean something? And I would say it must mean fucking something for me to torture myself to try to be here and not smoke, right? Like if it is making me unhappy and I still want to see what's on the other side, that freedom must mean something.
Right.
It must be pretty powerful to call me to want it.
Yeah,
So,
and there's a weird, to me, oxymoron with, as long as I don't use or smoke or whatever, I'm free. I can have the freedom to make a choice whether I want to use or not. But as soon as I make the decision to use and do it, I give up that freedom because I become enslaved to the
which
drugs.
takes right back to last week.
Yeah.
If you make a choice, you're fucked. You're no longer free. You're free until you make a choice. That's my take on it.
Well, I'm making the choice now not to do it. That's the freedom.
Then that's not really. I'm only free if I make one of the choices. You can take path A or path B. If you choose path A, you'll remain free. If you choose path B, you won't. But then you always got to take path A.
So I would say I don't know 100% if I use tomorrow that I would use for the rest of my life. There's a chance I might be able to manageably use in some way. That's always there's a chance that would happen.
Right.
But I don't want to take that chance. Because there's a chance that it wouldn't go that way. And the risk to me isn't worth it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
It's like jumping out of an airplane, parachuting. It's just not something I want to try today. Sounds exciting. There was a time in my life I thought it was fun and exciting and I would have loved to do it. Now, I'm like, I'll pass. Even if you said you wanted to pay for it, be like, I'll stay here on the ground. You can go jump out of an airplane all you want.
I don't know. That's funny because I've always been against doing that, and now I think I'm in a place where I might. Like, we're gonna segue here from having the freedoms to make these decisions, and we're gonna have a conversation about what ways to make decisions to stay out of sticky situations early on in recovery that might lead to not being free anymore. Kirsten, this is Billy.
Sorry.
Hey, how are you?
Hello. Have I seen you before?
Maybe. I've been around like the Elkton area meetings. So Jason said you were at one of the recovery houses.
Yes, I was at Charlotte.
Yeah. How long were you there?
Am I allowed to say that? 6 months, like a week shy of 6 months, maybe 2 weeks shy of 6 months.
Okay.
So how much of that are you willing to talk about?
Oh, I mean, I can talk about that shit. Whatever. Oh, my bad. Whatever you want to ask me.
Okay. So, I mean, I think generally we're gonna.
Oh, and it's okay. We tend to.
Oh yeah, we
talk
cuss
probably
all the time.
more than you should, but.
I think generally we're going for how to avoid situations that can lead to like relapse or drug use. That's the
Right.
goal here. So
Yeah.
we figure we definitely need to include somebody that's, I mean, that's something I went through the first 5 years of being clean. Like, how do you fucking avoid family reunions or when people are having crabs or, but I'm not, like, I kind of have an established plan that's so established, I don't really think about it anymore, which is why it makes more sense to have somebody that's, trying to figure out and navigate that plan.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I don't really have like a established plan in my head. Like, I'll just like before I go to each outing or whatever, I'll just be like, I need to make sure I have a ride just in case I gotta make sure I have an out. Like I don't go anywhere where I would be stuck that place.
Right. Well, that's good. So we'll get to that. So this isn't your first time in recovery, right?
No. Tried like probably like 7 times before I got it. Not saying I have it. Don't say that, but so far it's been okay.
Right. What kind of success have you had before?
Probably like if I'm being honest with myself, I wasn't being honest with others. I used to say like 3 months, but it was probably like 2 months tops.
And what happened each time?
I would drink. I would get around the wrong crowd and I would drink, and then that would just set me off from there because, like, you drink, you want to do something else, it's not good enough.
Right. Were you hanging around NA people at those times, or were you just doing your own
No,
thing?
um, no, definitely not. Like, I would go to any groups, I'd be like there at the time it's supposed to be. I'd walk in with my boyfriend. I wouldn't share what I would need to share. I would just kind of listen, and leave. I mean, like, I wouldn't really talk to many people before or after. Never got any numbers. Like, I had a sponsor, but I didn't use her. Like, I just asked her one day because I knew who she was, but, like, I didn't use her.
Right. Did you get the boyfriend in recovery? Like, did you find him in NA and then just went to meetings with him, or?
We used together. So
Um,
so it was like this game where, like, we would get out of rehab and, like, we both relapsed, but we both would act like we're clean and then, like, kind of accuse each other of relapsing. Um, so, like, it was like that, but then we would both, like, I don't know, one day we would just both use together again, and then it was off to the races.
so what's different this time? Like, what has led you to want to do something different? I mean, maybe it's just time, but you went into a recovery house this time, and you haven't done that before, right?
No, that
Okay.
was definitely a I always used excuses like, "Oh, my daughter," and this and that, but, so, like, I was living in a trailer with people I didn't know, um, just because they would like, I was being fed drugs, like, somebody liked me in there. Yeah, so I'm living in a trailer, and basically prostituting myself to this guy, for drugs, like, because my grandmother found a needle in her bed in my daughter's bed, and
Mm.
she was like, it was finally like the end of it. It was like she'd been dealing with this for so many years, and like that was, and I'm proud of her for that because she was my enabler. She didn't mean to be, but she was scared to see me out on the streets and stuff, and that's what kept me going is because, like, I knew, like, you have your own struggles in addiction and with, like, getting it and stuff like that, but, like, when you don't have a place to go, that amps up your problem. So, like, she stopped enabling me, she stopped buying me cigarettes, she just completely cut me off, and, yeah, so I'm in this trailer with this dude, and, like, he thinks that I'm his girlfriend, like, and, he's feeding me drugs.
Mm.
So, like, but, like, I overdosed a few times there, and, I was, like, doing meth. I was really, like, out of it, and, like, the last time I overdosed, it was just like, "I'm tired. I'm tired of this, like, this is not the life I want." Like, I'm looking around, like, I don't know, I had a moment of clarity, and it was like I packed my stuff and left, got myself into a rehab, and, like, when I was there, I was like, "If I go back, it's gonna be the same thing over and over and over again, so, like, I'm gonna try a halfway house," and, like, I tried the halfway house, you know?
You
The you
did, you
know?
did. So what ended up? Why did you leave there?
Uh, Personal circumstances, I didn't listen to the rules.
Oh.
I was there long enough, and I was not listening to the rules. I wasn't listening to because there was it's a year rule in NA. So, like, at the halfway house, there's a year rule there, and I was being sneaky, and that was actually like that. Being sneaky is actually a relapse action. Sorry. But yeah, I was being sneaky, and I got pregnant, and, like, I went to Trish and was just like, "Look, I'm pregnant, and I'll go pack my stuff because I broke the rules." So, like, I regret that because, like, 2 weeks later I had a miscarriage, and, like, I don't know, like, maybe I shouldn't have did what I did, and maybe I wouldn't be where I was because, like, when I got out, it was not what I thought it to be. It was hard. It was really hard.
It,
Like,
like it felt safer in the house?
well, yeah, but it wasn't even that. It was like I had everything set out for me. I had people making my decisions and, like, not having to question whether them decisions were wrong or not. Like, And
Hmm.
then, it's just, the freedom too. It's, what am I going to get myself into?
Right, right. So when you would try these things before, you would go back to using, you were still hanging around old people, places, and things, I imagine.
Yeah, I was still in that same neighborhood, still contacting the same people, like, cause I used to sell drugs, so, I know a lot of people, I know a lot of addicts, and, like, it would be cordial at first, cause I would, like, "Oh, I'm clean," and they'd be like, "Yeah,
Right.
that's cool," and then one day, it would just be like, "Hey, where anything's at?" And they're willing to get it because they know that, like, the situation will come out in their favor.
Right. So how did you just avoid that because of the house? Or, I mean, once you left the house, did you still avoid old people, places, and things?
Yeah, like, right now, to be honest, I don't think I could hit, like, anybody up and know where to find stuff. Like, I would actually have to work at it. If you want it, you're gonna get it. But, like, I've distanced myself enough to where, like, if I have a craving and, and I have done it, like, I've started thinking and going in my head, like, who will I even call?
Mm.
And I don't know. Like, it's like I've distanced myself enough from that life in general that, like, and then, like, some friends I had that weren't users, but, like, they would sell, like, they would be like, fuck no. Sorry for the language, but they would be like, no, like, they've seen my progress and they wouldn't, do it, so, like, that's just like you have to distance yourself from that stuff. You have to literally live a completely different life, or it's not gonna, it's not gonna work.
Have you done any looking into your mental health at all since you've been in recovery?
Oh yeah, in the house we went to a therapist and got our meds and stuff like that. But I will say when I left, I stopped taking my meds.
Mm.
And that's detrimental. And I just like started taking them again because like you think that you're okay, especially if you're bipolar or BPD, like you start thinking, oh, I'm okay. And you'll stop taking them. And then like you'll quickly realize that that's why I felt okay.
Mm. Right, right. You got anything to?
What do you feel like the halfway house experience, was that good for you? Was that positive for your recovery this time?
Oh, yeah. Like if it wasn't for that house, I wouldn't have made it. I still wouldn't be making it. A lot of the things I learned there, I still do like to this day. I mean, some stuff I, was a little rebellious on when I first left, but like, no, like a lot of the stuff that they've taught me, I still implement today, and I do owe them a lot. Like, not like you know what I'm saying. Like I owe them their props because they are, they set my foundation, and I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for them. Like they really did help me.
Yeah. And how did you find them? Did you find them through treatment, or how did you find Cecil County?
So somebody in the health department referred me to them, and they took me down there and everything, and yeah, it was, I don't know, like that experience was like the best part of my life right now. Like I
Hmm.
miss it every day. Like the girls, the camaraderie, like is that how you say it?
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, like I miss it because like you always have a girl to go talk to about like your real feelings. Like these girls are really friends with you. Like these girls really love you. They're not trying to get anything from you. And when you go out into the world, it's like you have to start deciphering that. Like you have to start
Mhm.
deciphering if your friends are really your friends. There, like it's hard to navigate through that sometimes.
It's interesting, looking at a couple of lists of, things that can be detrimental to early recovery or can lead us back to, using type situations or just situations that put us in, a dangerous place. It talks about isolation being one of them. We are such good isolators. And,
Oh yes.
I don't know, I tend to think of the normal things. If I go see people I used to use with, if I go buy a place I used to cop, like those kind of things, obviously. But I don't really consider the isolation as one of them all the time. But it makes sense, and with what you're talking about, like you get clean, you're in this environment where it's safe and you're talking to people. I did that for a short, I never stayed the full 28 days, but the 28-day stint, right? Like I felt safe there. It's a safe environment. I could talk about my feelings with a couple people. And then as soon as I was out of there, I didn't have that anymore. And I didn't know where to turn to find those similar kind of people. Couldn't talk to normal people about my feelings. That's weird.
No, have you ever told a family member, like, you ever, like, and like in early recovery, like maybe they wouldn't act so much as now, but you ever like sat there like with a few months clean and was like, Granny, I want to use, and like
Right.
the way they react is the
Yes.
way they react is so crazy, and you don't realize that like that's what you get from other addicts is like, you could be like, yo, like I really want to smoke some crack today or whatever, and they'll be like, yeah, me too, but we're not going to do it. But like
Right.
your family, they freak out, like they're like calling the rehabs again. Like they don't understand that that's a normal thing. They think that like once we get clean, we're good. Like
Right. Right. So you are back in halfway recovery house type environment, I believe?
kind of. So I work for a inpatient rehab and I'm a house manager. So yeah, kind of. Wait 1 second. Okay. So yeah, kind of. Um I'm just like the manager here, then I get paid for it. I mean, so yeah, but it's like these girls are in such early recovery that like it's very I have to watch like what I say. Like I
Mm.
want to be relatable, but like yeah, so the meetings I don't consider meetings for me because like I can't just like bust out like me. Like I'm me. So like I'm me when I go to NA meetings. So it's like I can't say the things I want to say and stuff like that because these girls are very impressionable. So like I don't want them to get any bad ideas and like that's the thing is like I don't want them to be like, well, this girl like wants to use a year in like I don't know, like that's normal, yeah, and I tell them that, but like I don't want like very new ones to think like it's okay to I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain.
So do you find you have to go to meetings with the people in the house and then also go somewhere else for your meetings?
Yeah, and it's really hard for me right now because of COVID and stuff. Like I can't get to meetings. So like the other day I went to a meeting up in Essex. It was one lady and a Zoom meeting. So it was like I paid $40 for that. Like I've been in such need for a meeting that I'm like I don't care. Like I need to go see some people and then I could have zoomed. So it's hard navigating. It's hard navigating right now. So it's like yeah, I'll do some zooms and stuff. And like I don't know, talking to the girls and stuff kind of help, but like I don't know, like I feel like I'm missing something. Like I'm so into NA that it's like because that's what kept me clean. That's what saved my life. So why wouldn't I be? So it's hard for me right now. It's a little bit of a transition, but it's like
Right.
up here. I don't know nobody. Like I'm not around the people, places, and things at all. So while I'm struggling, it's like it's not as dangerous.
Hmm. Interesting, because we usually, at least I tend to think of the times, how do I avoid sticky situations? And I always think of this as like, and this is probably a very dated, old school kind of 1970s don't use drugs kind of thinking, but it's like, how do I avoid situations when people invite me places? Because I just assume that's the only time I'm going to use is when people invite me somewhere, and that's not true. Like I can get the idea to use on my own, but what kind of situations have you had come up that you've had to like either say no to or address?
When I first got out the halfway house, my boyfriend takes me to this like birthday party and they were drinking. So
Hmm.
like I don't know cuz he's not an addict. He's like, "Well, there's no drugs here." So like I don't know, he didn't think like that. So I get there and I'm seeing they're drinking and like I kind of stayed like they were in the kitchen. I kind of stayed in the living room and like kind of separated myself from it, but then after a while I was like, give me the keys, I'm leaving, and I went straight to a meeting. Like
Hmm.
I just left. I was the asshole that left I didn't like they probably thought I didn't like any of them or something, but that's not, I left. I had to. Cause like I was thinking about it. I was thinking about taking a shot. And then it would have been 2 shots, and it would have been 4 shots, and it would have been 16 shots, and I'm blacked out or in the hospital for alcohol poisoning.
Right.
So
And so I guess I tend to think whenever anybody makes a podcast or writes a blog or they have this coaching strategy and they say, we want you to succeed in recovery, so we need to know what the difference is between you taking the keys and leaving and going and hitting a meeting and sometime before in your life where you would have just walked out to the kitchen and had a drink with them. Like, what was the difference between those two? And I don't personally know that there is one besides we've hit a bottom. I don't know any better way to explain it, but do you feel like there was times before where you could have made the decision to leave and go to a meeting and didn't? And what changed?
NA, like I'm like actually involved in NA, and that just them that once you get some NA in you, it's like if it I know it would have been a guilty feeling. I know I would have threw away all this work I would have did. Like I did so much work on myself. I got so far. Like I'm just working at McDonald's and I just got out of halfway house, but that is so far for me.
Mm.
Just being able to wake up every day and be a human. So I would have threw all that away because I knew I was able to think forward. I was never able to. I was always lying to myself before, thinking that I could just have one. Like that's a lie we tell ourselves, and now I know it's not the truth because of all my experimenting. Like you get to a point where like you're like, all right, the experiment's over. Like I definitely can't. I definitely can't tweak it. I've tweaked it every which way. I can't do it. I surrender. Like
Would you say that's humility? Do you think that's what that is? That just understanding of who we really are?
Well, I think it's a human connection. Like you get connected to people. It's like she talked about her experience in the halfway house and developing those relationships and then developing relationships with people in NA. You start to have like some relationships based on like accountability and being a decent human being and things like that make you feel like a halfway normal person.
That could be it. So it's interesting that we don't get those relationships from our families at some point. Like we deviate from having that type of relationship with them to go to that animalistic level, but then it takes like getting vulnerable with these strangers at some point in our life in order to come back to that human feeling.
Well, and she had talked about with her boyfriend. So my parents would do the same thing. Like we would get together for like family things, and people would be there drinking, and they would just be like, "Oh, well, you can have some beer." You know what I mean? Like that's fine. It's the drugs that get you in trouble all the time. Like, Mom, you sent me to rehab like 5 times.
mhm.
You're gonna tell me like you don't understand it. It's not okay for me to drink. Like they just didn't because they could just drink and have a couple beers and be fine or whatever, and they just didn't get that I couldn't do that. They couldn't relate to that struggle.
I remember my father saying he was disappointed that I was in NA because we'd never be able to go have drinks together.
What?
Right, and this is the same father that worried that he was going to get the call every day that I was dead. Right, and yet
Yeah.
in the first few months he didn't completely understand that concept of like I just couldn't do those kind of things. I wasn't normal, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah,
connected in the
it's
beginning.
okay.
Like she talked about with the halfway house with people in recovery. Like I think that's crucial for people in early recovery. I mean, my story was weird. I didn't go to rehab when I got clean this time. I've been to rehab a bunch of times, but I didn't go this time. I didn't go to halfway house. I still lived in the house with all the guys that I drank and got high with every day. I just started going.
That takes some strength, boy.
Yeah, I was desperate. But as soon as I could, like within a couple weeks, I got out of there, and the same thing. Like I went to meetings, and people said, "Hey, you really should get out of that situation. You really shouldn't stay there. It's not good for you," and stuff like that. So, I took the advice of people in recovery and started making some different decisions.
So, and I hear Kirsten say this to us too, that the NA thing, right? It's because of NA, they had, given me some good suggestions. I had made some friendships, and I feel that way about my life too. But what I've been questioning as we do this podcast and learn more about other forms of recovery, is it Is it the NA aspect itself, or is it just these things that we're talking about now that we get from it? Is it the accountability? Is it the different information that we've ever gotten? Is it the relationships?
Yeah, it's not the. Okay, this be controversial. It's not the readings. It's not the way the actual meetings are set. It's not that. It's the step work and it's the connection you get with other humans. I block out them readings now. Like that's it's not and it's what it's the template they gave us, and like you're supposed to take everything that they ask, like you're supposed to take everything and not leave anything, but like I don't know, like the readings and stuff, like that's in the NA book. I sometimes read the NA, like basic text, but like it's the human connection that we need. Like we're isolated, that's why we feel like we're alone, we're not the same as everybody else. Like I still feel like that, you
I feel like meetings are missing.
that I'm not like like everybody else. So like it's the connection. How many meetings am I missing?
No, I was gonna say
Did you say?
did you had cut out for a slight second there. I was gonna say I feel like meetings now are missing part of that human connection, at least for me, because I've been to a couple and they're not hugging. Well, I'm not hugging, and some of them are, but I'm not. But it's like that's part of what made
You
me.
want to see the hug still? Like you want to see them still?
I want to hug people. That's what I want, and I
Yeah. Oh
don't
God,
feel
it's
ready.
bad now. You're so ready to hug people.
I am. That's
No.
part of what made me feel
Yeah.
human. Somebody touched me and they were like, "Hey, welcome," and I'm like, "Holy fuck!" Like, nobody wanted to touch me when I
I'm
was getting
welcome.
high. Right? I wasn't brushing my teeth.
Exactly.
They were 10 feet away, trying not to smell me.
Yeah. Now someone's like over willing to hug you, so it's like, yeah, it's like I've made it. I've arrived.
So okay, so we put ourselves, and I think you've made the case for staying out of a relationship since your boyfriend put you in a sketchy situation. But what other types of situations have come up? Is there any family situations or anything else that is like you thought, man, if I do this, it's going to be kind of sketchy?
uh like just like so I've like thought about like hanging out with like maybe my old drug dealer friends.
Mm.
I
Why?
thought about that at one point, because I was like because I was like, look, they could put their stuff up, because they don't use, they could put their stuff up, you know, I won't be around it, like that's what I thought. But it's like I have to remember that part of my addiction is selling drugs. So
Mm.
just seeing them, it's just like, seeing what they have, like stuff like that, just being around that area, just seeing what they have and what I don't, like, that will start making like things churn in my head to where like I'm like, well, I can just sell it,
Right.
like that's a thought that I'll have. It's like I don't have any money right now, and maybe I could just sell it, and it's not what's possible. I'll just do it all. Like
Right.
I will get it and do it all. Like I will not be able to sell anything. Like I'll text all the people or call the people or go somewhere and then do it all. Like I'll have the best intentions and it will not go through like that.
What area are you from, Kirsten?
I'm from Elkton.
Are you?
Yeah,
Do you feel like you can hang out in Elkton right now comfortably?
I don't. Like I go down to my grandma's and I stay isolated in her house. Like I'm like on lockdown. Like if I do anything, like I could do errands comfortably and stuff like that. But like actually hanging out in the neighborhoods and going places with people, that's something I avoid.
Is that the area you used to, use in and
Yeah, I used to sell drugs there, all that. Like I used to do all that there. That's my stomping grounds, like 100% is
right.
Elkton. Like I did a lot of damage out there.
So if we avoid the people we used to use with, and if we avoid the places we used to use, and I guess things is avoiding the drugs. Like,
Yeah.
it always seemed weird.
Yeah,
Well, like she
yeah,
said though too, the lifestyle, like of dealing and the dealers and all that, that's part of the
that
thing
shit. It
too.
gets my heart pumping.
Yeah, it's exciting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's some adventure in some of that.
So I shouldn't go into like giant stealing crab meat or Like
That's a relapse action because
right.
that's what I like to tell myself is like you start doing that old stuff like it's just gonna be bad. It's gonna add up. I just keep
Right.
having Trish in the back of my head talking about you guys got to stop this sneaky shit. Like that's what I think of every time I think about doing something like that. Is like sneaky shit is what's gonna. It's you think that it's not going to, but that's what's going to lead you back. It's going to put you back in that lifestyle bit and piece by piece. Like, and then all of a
Sneak.
sudden, bam, you're there.
Sick as our secrets, huh?
Yes,
So,
it's the truth.
so you get, and I say this in the most polite way. You get kicked out of a recovery house because you've been seeing a
Mhm.
guy when you're supposed to be not seeing people in this recovery house, and you've, had sex, and
Mhm.
now you're pregnant,
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
you get kicked out of a recovery house where all your support is. You're pregnant. You got like 6 months clean. How likely did you think it was for you to stay clean with all that going on?
When I had that miscarriage, I honestly don't know how I did it. I didn't know how I honestly don't know how I rejected that prescription from the doctor for perks. I told them I was an addict. They still kept trying to, I told them
Mm.
not to write it. They still try to give it to me. Up until the end, they still try to keep giving it to me. And, I don't know how I told them no. I don't know how. It's a every day. You got to work at it every day. I don't know how. But I feel like it wasn't likely, and I feel like everybody else thought it wasn't likely. And the fact that I'm still sitting here is a miracle.
I mean, I talked to you a little bit throughout that situation, and I just looking. It's weird how I guess if you've been around here for a while, you look at other people's situations and you're like, well, I've seen something like that, or I've seen exactly that, and yeah, that's probably not going to
Oh,
work out well, or you see
yeah,
two
yeah.
two newer members come in and one doesn't give a fuck or leave a tip at the diner. They're like the guy who orders more than they even have money for, and somebody else will pick it up, and then the other guy's really polite, like has money for a tip and uses manners, and you're like, oh well, I know which one of these two is going to make it, and it's never
It's just the
true.
opposite. It's
Right,
the opposite.
you never really know. Like at least for me, I've always been like, oh, that guy definitely isn't, and that guy definitely is. And I'm never. I mean, sometimes I'm right, but it's not with any regularity. Like we just never
Yeah,
know. Right.
you don't, and you don't. It's just every day, every day. Like I just don't do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. I tell myself, but I ain't gonna do it today, and then I just keep going with that. Like that's helped me a lot. It's like
Yeah. No,
telling
I think.
myself,
Yeah. I think you're onto it with the just for today. I mean, I think that's the only way this works. Honestly, I'm trying to picture like if there's no formula to pick out, okay, this person isn't doing the formula, they're not going to make it. This person is living the formula, but I haven't yet to figure out any formula that
it's
measures up.
yourself. It's all up to yourself. It's all up to where if you're tired enough. It's really the gift of like desperation. It
Mm.
really is. Like it's just like I'm never ever gonna do this again because I am scared shitless that I'm gonna end up back where I was. Like that scares me and that haunts me.
Yeah, some of the
Like
things
it
that are
does.
mentioned, the people, places, and things, the poor self-care can lead us back to using. And I would agree with that, but I don't know. Like I didn't even know how to care for myself early on, and maybe that's why I needed people around so much. I needed a little bit of like help in that self-care department. I need people to say, you need to be in bed by 10 and up by 8, and you need to leave the house and get a job and not just lay here all day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think
definitely.
Kirsten said something earlier which hit with me a lot was, not getting yourself in a position where you're stuck somewhere, where you always have kind of an out or always have a way out. And that was always important to me, like early in recovery, especially. It wasn't my wife then, we were just dating. But when my wife and I were early on and dating, we would go out to like shows at clubs and stuff, where people were drinking. And that, like for me, that was never area where I used. I wasn't like a club person that went to clubs and drank. And so being in that environment didn't
always trigger wanting to get high or use. But there would be times where we would talk about it before we got there. It'd be like, look, if either of us starts to feel like in a bad place or wants to drink or whatever, like we just got to go. And the other person had to be kind of okay with that, going in, so that neither of us felt like we were stuck in a situation.
And that's smart.
Yeah, and one time we went to like she's real into the Grateful Dead, so we went to a Grateful Dead concert, and we were there. We paid all this money for tickets. We were there about 20 minutes, not even. Probably we went in, found our seats, and she's like, "I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't do this.
I bet.
Like this just makes me want to get high too much.
Yeah.
Like, we got to go." And we left. We
Yeah.
left. And having that out, knowing that, I was this order and not feel like, well, no, we got to stay now.
I'm going to be the asshole that breaks it up. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
going to be the asshole that makes everybody leave. That's how I felt with the pool party is like, but I still did it. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to be an asshole today. Like, I'm an asshole usually, so this is something worth being an asshole about,
Yeah, or just making sure you have those people around you that are going to, at least whoever you came with, it's going to support you in that like understands where you're coming from.
Now, see, that's
Yeah.
interesting because listening to both of you, Kirsten, I know you have like sometimes a loud personality, but I think that was a benefit to you in that situation to say, fuck it, I'm going to be that asshole, even if I look like that, which maybe nobody even thought you did, but it didn't matter. It's in your brain, right? But I had a partner early on that would have been fine if I'd have said, hey, I'm uncomfortable, I really need to leave. They'd have been like, cool, let's go. And I still couldn't because there was that thing in my head that said, oh, you can't be the party. You need to be able to do this. And so I still couldn't tell them, even though I had the partner that would have been okay hearing me. And I wasn't the loud enough personality to say, fuck it, I'm just going to be an asshole. It was just, I guess I'll sit here and do my best not using. Like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, but and it's like, that's the thing is when I felt like if I sat in that situation long enough, I might not have took that drink there, but I might have went and caught some dope later just because like that feeling, it's it. I don't know if you guys know. I'm pretty sure you do know. So that feeling you have when you're about to cop, that's the feeling I had sitting there. It was like that anxiety, like that super anxiety, and it could only be like cured by getting some shit. Like it was like anxiousness. It's anxiety, I guess, but like that's when I'm anxious, I'm like I feel like I'm about to cop. Like I say that all the time. Like it's like that feeling when you're about to cop.
I felt like that the last 3 days about smoking.
About smoking
Right.
cigarettes, really?
Yeah,
Have you been trying to quit?
Yeah, I haven't had any. I mean, so I did quit, and then I went back to vaping and smoking cigars, and now I'm like on day 3, and I'm just like on edge the entire time. I'm like, when I leave here, am I going to go buy a cigar? I don't know. Ooh,
right? And you probably justified it the whole time, like, well, just cigarettes, just gonna be.
Well, I'm just going to have a cigar here and there. That's what
Yeah, it's not a cigarette. It's just
Right.
10 cigarettes basically.
Well, I'm just going to have a cigar, and then I'm spending so much on cigars. I'm like, these aren't healthy. I'll buy disposable vapes, and then I'm spending like $100 on that. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I'll get a real vape.
Disposable ones are super expensive. They don't help you. But if you buy the big ones, they're expensive at first. But if you buy the ones at the vape shops, they are cheaper.
And that's what I ended up doing. I was spending so much on disposables. I was like, Christ, I might as well get a real one. Yeah, this is fucking crazy.
Now you're like the hopeless dope fiends rocking around with the vape now.
Yeah, it's like from the outside watching the progression. It's like just like an addict, you know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna do this cigars, and it's only gonna be every now and again. And I can control this form of addiction. And slowly leads you right back to where
you're going.
Did I say that?
Long.
Did I say that wrong? It's dope bliss hope fiend. I said that right?
I don't know. Did you say hopeless dope fiend?
I think I did. I'm like, wait a minute, let me correct that because
the shirts they have. Freudian slip. That might have been on purpose.
Guys, it's all backwards. It's all backwards.
One of the other things it mentions, besides poor self-care, people, places, things, uncomfortable emotions. The whole halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I was very awful at recognizing that early on. Like I just knew I was angry. That was the only thing. Like, am I angry because I'm hungry? I don't know that. I'm just angry. But I feel like that could definitely have something to do with learning not to use if you're, feeling feelings and don't know how to talk about them. And maybe that's why early on the recovery house environment and having someone there 24 hours a day can be so helpful. Not that everybody needs it, but it does put your peers right there with you at all times. It's not like, oh, I'm feeling shitty Monday morning. I have to wait till Monday night at 7 p.m. for the NA meeting to talk to my people. It's like, no, I can just talk to people Monday fucking morning at breakfast.
Or right then and there.
Right. Do you feel like, so are you living at the house you're managing right now?
Yeah.
But you don't feel like you can talk to any of the people in it?
Because there's like a few choice girls that'll come in and it'll be like, they're cool. Like,
right.
I could but like I feel like even though I live here, I have to maintain some type of semblance of professionalism, even though I'm not. Like I talk to them sometimes. Like I'll tell them like when I'm not feeling like too good, but like I can't like break down and like I feel like I can't. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like I can't just like break down to them.
Right. And how is that different from when you were at the other house?
Because at the other house, like it wasn't my job, so like I could just give them the grimy details, not really care. I like just give them the tea and not care. Like I didn't have to care about like maintaining any type of boundary. Like me and them girls have no boundaries. It's really it's good, but it's really terrible.
So is this like this boundary that you have now? Is that something you've set on yourself, or did the place that you work ask you to maintain that boundary?
They, I mean, like they said they wanted some type of boundary, but they didn't tell me what the boundary was. Like I guess they left it up for me to choose. Like, but I can't be like running through here just telling them all the. I don't know. I just feel like I can't tell them every detail of my life. Like even though it does look like a good example, I feel like because it's like, okay, this girl's over here depressed for the past couple weeks, and she's still clean. She didn't go out. If I look perfect, I feel like they're gonna think they can't obtain what I have.
Yeah, I know for me, I've definitely gotten to some points where I thought I wasn't able to share about my struggles in a meeting because I thought I was supposed to be somewhere else with the amount of time or whatever I had. And like learning that that's not really reality for me today, thank God. I can go in a meeting and look as ugly as I want. It really doesn't matter. Like that's what they're there for, is to go be ugly there. But I guess what I can relate it to is seeing a lot of people get into working in the field. And so through working in the field, they don't have time for their own personal recovery anymore, but they assume that the work in the field is going to kind of replace that. Yeah. Right, compensate for it. But the problem is you are limited in what
It doesn't.
like you're well, right, because when I'm up here in the field, I would be everything I'm sharing is only with the best interest of the other person. It's not really for my own recovery. But I need a place to share about me too.
Yes, yep, you got that. That's what like that was kind of what I was trying to say is like I could give them like something in my life and tell them stuff, but it's not really sharing. Like
Right.
it's trying to show them, hey, look, you could do this.
So do you feel like now you have like a separate support group down there where you are, or have you developed a new support group?
It's mainly coworkers. Courtney B has been really like my rock down here. She's like my bestie down here. Like my coworkers are awesome. They're really awesome, but it's not really what I consider a network. I mean, one of the girls from my house moved back down here, so I kind of have her. We haven't really met up in person. I'm kind of like getting a little bit of something now.
Are the meetings the people in the house are going to? Are they in person? Are you guys going out to
There's
in-person meetings?
I wish there's Zoom. I'll run them sometimes. Like I try to mix it up because they're so early in recovery. They're not like the Zooms are cool, but there's something missing about them, and that's what they're not getting NA because of that, I guess.
Right.
Like, so I try to hold some stuff, overdoing like I usually do.
So
But
that's interesting. How does that work? Are you like required to go to a certain number of meetings with the house per week, and then you do a number on your own, or all up to
I'm
you?
just doing it on my own. I'm not required.
I gotcha. I didn't know. I know there's some Dundalk meetings. It's not the closest thing to you, but they're open down there if you needed to get some in-person stuff on your own.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So what's your biggest struggle to avoiding situations today? Like maybe early on your struggle, it sounded like, was not enough structure. And so this time through you were in a very structured, recovery environment. And that's what kept you on point. But now that you've kind of got that period established, what would you say is the biggest struggle today? Are you starting to get concerned that maybe you're isolating and not talking to enough of your own network?
Yeah, definitely think I'm isolating because it's like I'm here 24/7, so I have to take time for myself. And then once I do, I feel like I take too much time. And then like just meeting new people, like I have to get out there and I have to get some friends, but it's like I'm scared that, especially the area I'm in, I'm scared that I'm gonna meet the wrong friends, and that's just gonna be it.
Hmm.
We're all 1 second away from relapsing, no matter how long you have. Like you're one situation away. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe longer you have, maybe the easier it is it'll be say no. But like, I feel like I don't know if someone actually pulled something out in my face right now, like literally in my face, my drug of choice, whether I would say no or not. Like, I hope that I do, but you can't be that confident in it. So it's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
scary.
I don't sit here and claim to be. I mean, hope Billy doesn't have anything in his pocket, but no. I mean, do you have any other questions, Billy, to talk about? Okay. Well, Kirsten, I know you have 11 months now, and super congratulate on that.
Thank
You're coming
you.
up here
I'll
in a
have a
little bit.
year, September 25th,
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Do you have a home
Sunday
group?
at 7. Yes, it's the one the parish house.
Oh, okay. That's not online, is
It's not online. We are in person.
it? That's awesome. I don't know that meeting, but
We do it at the Northeast Park.
oh, you're up there?
Yeah, I celebrate the what is it? The 27th. Yeah, at 7 at the Northeast Park.
Well, why weren't you up there a week ago?
Because I'm up here now. They're just being nice and letting me celebrate because
Uh-huh.
that's where I did all my. Oh, so you came.
I was there for Dennis. Yeah, yeah, I went.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
I
it
was
was
like, someone should Zoom me.
yeah,
And he was like, not gonna happen.
oh, they could have. I've seen it done before, but we do appreciate you coming on, Kirsten, and talking about all the struggles, and possible ways to combat this. I think you've done an incredible job, especially considering some of the, it's almost like the landmines you've put in front of yourself, and yet somehow that higher power of yours has managed to keep blessing you with continued, recovery and abstinence. And thank God, because I think people need you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
it's
you
good
so
talking
much.
to you. Yep, I'll talk to you
All right,
soon.
nice talking to you. I'll
All
talk to you
right,
later.
bye. Just a final thought. We kind of ran out a little bit of time today. Final thought to wrap up the idea is that maybe avoiding situations is less about avoiding this or taking this out or removing this from our life. And maybe really in general, it's just about what am I doing on a daily basis that I'm adding to my life to fill in these places, right? Do I have a place to be accountable? Do I have people helping me, you know, monitor my life and my thinking? Am I adding in all these, am I praying? Am I forming a relationship with some power bigger than me? Like Billy kind of said, the baseball player doesn't end up in the bottom of the ninth at bat with 2 outs with the winning run on second every night, right? That might happen twice a season, if that. But he practices every day to get to that point so that he's ready for when that situation hits. And it's the same kind of thing. I think we just practice daily of adding in this healthier lifestyle, which gives us the ability to combat those moments, those bottom of the ninth moments when somebody serves up, something that sounds like a good idea. We have the ability to combat it. And so, hope everybody has a good week. Next week, step 9. See you then.